All right, everyone, welcome back to Be the Whole You. My name is Gullveig, and I can't even believe that it's already the new moon. It just seems like yesterday we had a full moon in Aquarius, and now we have a new moon in Virgo. I always like to take a look at the full moon before the new moon and see how they might complement each other. So the full moon in Aquarius, we had a lot of changes, a lot of upheaval. After the video, folks emailed me and contacted me and were saying like, we're feeling it. We're feeling the upheaval, feeling lots of changes, not exactly sure what's going to happen next. And even though, as we're going to see here in a second, this Virgo new moon is kind of what I call itchy, meaning that there's a lot of oppositions and there's just a lot of almost conflicting energy in this new moon. Virgo, by and far, is one of the best zodiac signs as far as being able to analyze, to condense, to organize, to create systems. So if it's feeling like things have been for the last couple weeks just kind of an upheaval and you don't know if you're coming or going, then the Virgo energy of this new moon very much could be a very welcome shift and change with that. So today we are using the Steampunk Tarot. This is a really fun tarot deck by Barbara Moore, and it's illustrated by Ali Fell. It's a real fun one. And yeah, I'm going to hold off on talking a little bit more about the specific astrology. I'm feeling like we need to just get into the cards. So let's just take a moment and set our intention of what is it that we need to know or do the most at this time to make the most beneficial use of this new moon in Virgo, August 2022. Okay. Okay, we have a couple of cards that are just popping out of the deck. And when that happens, I always look at that as being like, those energies are like, me, I need to talk to you. So, yeah, okay. There's a lot of cards. They're very, very chatty. Last time we did this, it was also very chatty. So that's okay. That's okay. And when the cards pop out of the deck together, I look at them as being like one message together, or the energy is combined. All right, so the very first card that popped out of the deck was the Three of Swords reversed. And when I'm taking a look at this card here, it's reversed, I actually feel a lot of emotion around this. And the Three of Swords is a card that's usually around forgiveness. And when it's reversed, it's really time to allow those swords to fall out of the heart. And when it's reversed in this specific scenario, what I'm seeing here is that this specifically has to do with forgiving ourselves. And that can be like the hardest thing ever, right? Is to forgive ourselves. A lot of times we're so much harder on ourselves than we are anyone else. And this card right out of the gate is like, if there are mental loops that are happening around like the story about yourself, one of the things about this Virgo new moon that's kind of a conflicting energy is that we could end up in a lot of mental loops of, especially around our own expression. There's a lot of Mercury energy, and Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is the planet of communication and travel, and also has a lot to do with our own mental focus and clarity. So with the conflicting energy that's going on with that energy, we could end up really just kind of going back and forth between what is it that I really want to say and what is it that is safe to say. If I express myself in a particular way, might I be ostracized? Might I lose relationships? Or would I get an unfavorable response? Those are some of the things that we might be playing with this new moon in Virgo. And part of that energy, as I'm taking a look at these other these other cards, Nine of Pentacles. We have Nine of Pentacles, and we also have the Ten of Pentacles. So what I'm also seeing here is the Nine of Pentacles. You can see here she's got her winged friend. And this hawk, it symbolizes sending out your spirit, sending out your energy in order to retrieve, to hunt down that which your heart desires. And the Ten of Pentacles is it's an incredibly fortuitous card, and it's about harmony. It's about work-life balance. It's about attaining that which your heart desires. So what I'm seeing here with all of that being said is being strategic, and that is what Virgo is really good at. So instead of getting kind of wrapped up in the story of our past, which would be the self-forgiveness piece of how we perceive, how the world perceives us, or how we might be annoyed or frustrated with coworkers or family members or friends or whatever it might be, and allowing ourselves to kind of a knee-jerk reflex where we're just going to say what we need to say because we just want to say it. Think about what is the long game for you. What is it that you're actually trying to accomplish through your communication? If we can take that approach, then we can have a little bit of distance from any kind of wounds or projections that might be kind of running in the background that might really be kind of creating some interference as far as what the truth really is. Typically speaking, because with this new moon, we could very much fall into the rut of having very black and white thinking, very rigid thinking, and Virgo loves to be right. And most of the time Virgo thinks it is right. And these cards in this new moon is saying, take a moment to step back. Typically speaking, the truth is not all in one end or another. Usually it's somewhere in the middle. So it's totally okay and preferential. It's okay to be gray in this energy. Because the Eight of Pentacles, which is the next card, it says that the gift of this new moon is about your own personal growth and evolution, and we are developing new skill sets and perhaps new perspectives and belief systems by taking a look at what is my right as a sovereign being, and what is it that is my truth, what is it that I'm being called to share and to express, and what piece of that might actually be projection, which comes into Seven of Wands reversed. The Seven of Wands is about having to defend your position in life. So we have a person that is basically the king of the mountain, the king of the hill, and you have all of these people, these wands underneath here, and they're basically trying to fight for that same spot. And when it's reversed, it's like, it's what defined conflict in the past, Three of Swords, does not necessarily determine how conflict will show up in your future. So let's not allow our past to define our future. And that can be really difficult, right? Especially when if we're a person who has felt alienated by society or by maybe our more intimate community, if we have felt separation, if we have experienced being misunderstood, all of those things can create a lot of fear within us that will distort our truth and distort really what it is that we really want to say. So the next cards that are coming up here, I'm seeing as actually being the more of the remedy of that kind of back and forth that we might be feeling versus of what it is that we want to say versus how to say it. Because the next one is the High Priestess. The High Priestess is okay, so there's a few things coming up here. So the High Priestess, she is one that this is a card that's about intuition and about inner knowing, but in more traditional imagery of this card, she's holding the Torah. And so she also is the harbinger of sacred knowledge and truth. She stands on the Kabbalistic tree of life. If you don't know what that is, I have a painting of it. Just give me a second. Many of you have seen this kind of imagery, right? You have, and this is a map of evolution. So you have one pillar that is the pillar of mercy and the other pillar that's of justice. And she stands in the center of the two. And that's the path that is considered to be the most balanced path. So all the paths will lead to source. All paths will lead to evolution. It's just about how you want to get there. And so she stands in the center. And here again, we have the invitation to be somewhere not in complete hiding or freezing, but also not allowing Mars right now, because Mars is one of those things that is really active with this new moon, and it could definitely cause us to be a little bit more agitated, maybe aggressive, and then that would be the other end of the spectrum. Not to allow frustration or fear to muddy up the waters as far as like what it is that we want to express into the world. Which brings us to the Page of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles reversed that came up together. So the Page of Swords is wanting us to, it's just wanting us to create, and it's wanting us to come out of the gate perhaps with a whole new way of communication. So there might be a lot of new ideas that are percolating up to the surface. We may feel somewhat frustrated around things that are kind of outdated, stagnant, or need to go. Perhaps it's a job that needs to be let go of, or perhaps it's a roommate situation that has run its course. And so there's this feeling of like there's something that needs to change, and how we communicate what our needs are with navigating that change will definitely affect the results that we're getting. And the Knight of Pentacles says it's okay to slow down and take it very methodical, step by step. Slow and steady wins the race in this case. This isn't something where we need to rush ahead, even though that might be tempting because of the itchy, fiery nature. There's also a Grand Cross with this whole new moon, which also creates more of that kind of itchiness of like, I just need to do something. I just need to change it. I just need to change it. And if we are kind of doing this haphazard type of approach, it probably won't get us to where we want to go. Seven of Cups, and then that comes to the Knight of Swords afterwards. So Seven of Cups, there are so many ideas that the Page of Swords is receiving that itself might end up confusing us. And that brings us back to that Knight of Pentacles. That's like, choose one thing. Choose one thing, choose one type of expression. Now would be a great time to experiment with different kind of artistic pursuits. So if you have wanted to pick up painting or pottery or take a sculpting class or sewing or, you know, anything that is creative, now would be a really good time to do that. And that is actually one of the ways that we can really funnel some of this fidgety energy and some of these mental loops, because how we can stop the mind from looping is giving somewhere for that energy to go. So give it some sort of expression, whether that be something that you draw, it doesn't matter if it's good or not, or something that you write, even if it's just for yourself, something that you sing, even if you're the only one that can hear it. Those are all ways that we can use a creative outlet in order to get what's in here out. Because if we don't give that any kind of expression, then it's going to continue to loop for a little while, and it could be very frustrating. Which brings us to the Knight of Swords. What could happen, what will probably happen as a result of once all of this energy has kind of accumulated and has run its course, is the Knight of Swords says that we will probably come out at the other end of this, probably by the next full moon in a couple of weeks. We'll come out of this with a new perspective. So if this energy is uncomfortable for you, know that it isn't just for nothing. And if you're experiencing a lot of mental looping and a lot of maybe frustration or irritation, or it just feels like we're kind of agitated inside and we just need to move, then know that you're not alone with that, and it's kind of what's going on. And like I said, give it somewhere to go. So another way, if it's not creative pursuits, is moving the body. Moving the body, giving somewhere for that energy to move, is really, really important right now. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, with the Seven of Cups, with the, you know, the feast of inspiration that might be coming our way, write the stuff down. So even if you are just picking one or two things to really act upon or to speak upon, write down all of the inspiration, write down all of the different ideas that you have, document it, because you might end up coming back to it later. Even though slow and steady wins the race, and we're being invited to take more of a methodical step-by-step approach with how we want to move forward, it doesn't mean that those other ideas are just going to be put on a shelf indefinitely. We're at least one or two of those we're going to want to revisit. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. I do have an announcement to make. I did create a new podcast, and this particular podcast, which is on chakras for everyday people and everyday life, there might be some tidbits in there that would be really helpful around this time, especially in relationship to the throat chakra, which is around communication, and how we resonate with the world around us. So if this is something that you're dealing with right now, check that out. Also, I have a new project called Through the Looking Glass, where you can call in and leave a voicemail and or email me either a personal story of an out of ordinary experience, or perhaps you have a perspective on one of the themes or topics that we have brought up in the podcast episodes. Feel free to drop me a line and I will share it in one of our future episodes. And I will have a link to that in the description below. All right, have a wonderful rest of the next couple weeks until we meet here again, and check out what the next full moon has in store for us. Take care.